Alright, this is going to be a tutorial for the Switch speedrun of Pikmin 1. Even though this tutorial for Switch, though, most of what I say here does apply to the Wii version. It's not exactly one-to-one, but it's pretty similar enough that you could probably use this if you want to speedrun on the Wii version. But yeah, so the first thing when you do a run is you can either start on a new file or you can rewind an existing file to day one and start from there. It's the exact same time. Neither loses time to the other, and they're both allowed on the leaderboard, so you can do either one. But yeah. So this is the opening cutscene. This is not skippable, unfortunately. It'd be awesome if it was, but it's not. So version differences. There are no version differences, basically, between the Switch versions. They're all the same except for language. So you can feel free to run on whatever version you have. For controls, you will definitely need to turn on motion controls, which I think are off by default, but you can turn them on by pausing, which you need to be at least on day 2 for. And you pause, and then I think if you like scroll to the right or to the left, you get to the controls settings, and I believe you press minus to toggle on or off motion controls. I don't remember exactly what the button is, but it's in the pause menu. It says which button you have to toggle. So yeah, turn motion controls on. And as far as controllers, I like using the Switch Pro controller. You can use Joy-Cons, but I don't really like the little the small joystick on the right. I guess they're both small, but in particular the right one's kind of hard to work with because you want to spin it around really fast a lot when you're trying to direct Pikmin, and that's hard with a tiny joystick. So I like the Pro controller. But yeah, also with motion controls. So the motion controls in this game are a little weird. It's not like the Wii version where just wherever you point whatever the Joy-Con over is where the reticle is. Basically, whenever you're pressing B or A, then motion controls activate, but otherwise the motion controls turn off. So B and A basically are the buttons for whistle and throw Pikmin, or just attack for Olimar if you don't have any Pikmin. So anytime you do that, then you activate the motion controls, and when you don't, then the reticle just goes back to where it normally is, because when you have motion controls, when they're activated, your reticle actually goes about 50% farther than when you don't have them activated. So you can take advantage of that a lot of the time. If you want to throw a Pikmin farther, you'll definitely need motion controls for that. But yeah, so this is first text box here. Just mash B to skip through text boxes. That's the fastest way to do it, and that's the case, all the time. And then I turn here, and you can't see it right now, but I'm actually pointed towards the red onion because I just want to walk directly towards that. But I'm actually walking in a straight line here. I'm not walking diagonally up to the left, because you actually walk faster when you're walking straight up or straight down than you do if you're walking at an angle. Or to the sides. So always walk straight forward or straight back if you're, just if you can, essentially. Also, I guess related to that is if the camera is so right now it's in the 45-degree angle. If it's in the overhead, the perfectly vertical angle, then when you hold up on the left stick, you actually don't go directly straight most of the time. You actually go slightly to the left or to the right depending on which way you're facing. It really depends on where true north is on the map, which is kind of weird. But generally, if you want to walk straight, have the 45-degree camera angle. So, yeah. So yeah, just walk up, activate the cutscene, and then you're going to want to break down both these pellet posies. Just a real quick thing about breaking these down. So all pellet posies in the game take either 5 hits from Olimar or yellow or blue Pikmin, or 4 hits from a red Pikmin, or if a Pikmin just hits it on the top where the flower is, it one-shots it. But for when I break it down with Olimar, I press A to do the little attacking animation, and the damage box actually remains active for the entirety of the animation. So you can press A a little bit before you're in range of the posy as you're walking to it, and then when you walk into it, during the animation, then your hurt box will immediately hit it. So you can just start attacking a little early, right here. You'll see me do that on both these pellet posies. And then, so this is the first Switch exclusive trick. You can actually, so if you were to walk up to this pellet or this sprout, right as it fully sprouts up, it would show you a little cutscene oh, it's glowing, what's the sprout in the ground? But that's actually skippable because if you stand, it actually doesn't matter where you stand, but I like standing right here, and press A when it fully sprouts. then it puts Olimar in the plucking state, which makes it can't activate the cutscene if Olimar is in the plucking state. So you just pluck the Pikmin and skip that cutscene entirely. That is exclusive to the Switch version because they actually increased the radius from which Olimar can pluck. So it's pretty nice. It's just like a quick 7 or 8 second time save for free. And then just after you pluck it, just try to move the reticle to be over this pellet on the top right. And then once this pellet goes into the onion, the Pikmin will always move over here. Most of the time it would go to Olimar, but here in particular it only ever goes here. So I can't walk to this to hopefully dismiss it or whatever. So you have to throw it from here basically. And I like to stand just a little bit to the left here. If you were farther to the right, like if I was standing here, then when I try to throw the Pikmin, it would actually hit the onion and bounce off. So you just want to be a little to the left. And then this is right about here. I'm going to do a thing. So there, I didn't just whistle it. I actually dismissed it as soon as I saw it started sucking up the pellet and then whistled it. Because it technically joins your party as soon as it puts the whatever it's called, the pellet in the little tractor beam. But you can't whistle it and it just stays there for a while. But if you dismiss and then whistle, then you can bring it back into your party immediately and grab it and then head over here. And you do want to one-shot this pellet posy. The indicator I use for when to let go of A here is right when the reticle, so there's 2 ledges here, there's 1 ledge here and then the second one up here. Right as the reticle goes up onto the second ledge, that's when I let go of A. And it should one-shot that every time. And then I want to speed up that 1 pellet because that's essentially the limiting factor here. I can't do anything else until that 1 pellet gets in. So instead of plucking all the Pikmin I can, I just pluck 1 and then throw it onto the pellet and then come back to pluck the other ones. And then, yeah, so I threw the Pikmin there. That's one thing a lot that, I mean, not a lot, but sometimes you'll see on the Wii and Switch versions is it's a lot faster to throw leaves than to walk with them, just because you can throw so far. So I'll throw those over there, dismiss, whistle, throw these over here as well. And then I can just whistle them all and throw them onto the 5 pellet pretty quickly. Also, actually, so I guess I'll explain how I do, how I use the motion controls, because it's a little weird. Essentially, if I were to just walk forward like I did there, with the controller in a neutral, comfortable position, and then try to use motion controls to extend the range, I would have to flick the controller up, and then I would have to mash A with the controller kind of up, which would be a little awkward. So rather than doing that, I usually like to, throw the controller down, and then press A to activate motion controls, and then just flick it back up to a neutral position, and then that'll extend the range like I wanted to do there, but I'll have an easy neutral position on the controller to throw the Pikmin. That's essentially what I do anytime I want to use motion controls to extend the range, is I move it in the opposite direction of where I'll want to move the reticle, and then I press A or B, whichever one, to activate motion controls, and then I'll flick my controller back to a neutral position. So there, essentially, what I'm doing here is as I'm whistling, I move my controller down, and then I press A to start motion controls, and then I just flick it back up to neutral. And that's definitely something that'll get some taken used to. It's not super comfortable immediately, and it's not, you don't have the muscle memory immediately, but you should pick it up pretty quickly. And so the next limiting factor is going to be the sprouts from this 5 pellet growing. So I want to speed this up as fast as possible, basically. So instead of plucking both and then throwing on this, I will just pluck 1, throw it on the 5 pellet to speed it up, and then pluck the other one and go to grab the 1 pellet up here. And just be a little careful when you throw like this. You don't want to throw too far to the, you don't want to throw from here because then it'll just hit the ledge. But it doesn't necessarily matter if you do this super fast or not, because this 1 pellet will almost always get in before or at the same time as you finish plucking the Pikmin from this 5 pellet. And then just throw these 5 on there and just wait for these sprouts. You only want to pluck 3 because you just need 10 for this next area. And this was pretty much best case scenario, was finishing plucking right as soon as the 1 pellet got in. Because actually, so I guess, yeah, this is the best case scenario because it's not necessarily obvious, but the time it takes for the sprouts to grow is actually random. So I got a little lucky here in that they did not take that long to grow. Because usually I will still be waiting to pluck when this 1 pellet gets in. And then this cutscene, not skippable, unfortunately. Just wait it out and then mash B on the text box. And so here I attempted to do it. It doesn't really matter if you do or don't. I think it just makes it a little less awkward when you pluck the Pikmin later. But I tried to throw a Pikmin onto the 1 pellet as I was walking here. You don't feel like you need to do that, especially as a beginner. It saves like essentially no time. So just don't worry about it. But the limiting factor here, though, is getting this far 1 pellet in. So that's essentially what I want to speed up, is just get to it on this as fast as possible, and then just the other stuff doesn't matter as much how quickly you do it. And then, yeah, just come back, pluck these 4, throw them on the 5 pellet, and then I will set up for a little trick I do with the engine cutscene. Yeah, just always watch out, though, because they sometimes don't all grab. So just dismiss them if they don't, and they should grab it again. But so I'm setting up here. So right now I'm looking up on the screen on the top right. Once I see this last pellet, this last 1 pellet, enter the tractor beam, then I will want to activate this cutscene. Because during cutscenes, most things freeze. But the one exception to that is the onion and sprouts that are growing around the onion. Those actually continue to grow and continue to sprout during cutscenes. So I'll essentially just not have to wait as long for them to grow because I used up some of that time during the cutscene. And then as soon as that's done, just run back and start plucking. And this text box here, that will always come up right after you pluck the first one. And obviously you want to mash B to get through that as quick as possible. But don't mash B too much like after the text box, because pressing B during this plucking state, where you're just like mashing A to pluck, will actually cancel the plucking state, and you'll just have to reactivate it. So don't mash B too much here, basically. And again, pretty much best case scenario, everything was done plucking right as the 5 pellet got in, so I can just dismiss and whistle, because like I said earlier, the things that were carrying the 5 pellet kind of rejoin my party, but they don't actually follow me, so I'll just need to dismiss them and re-whistle them to get them to follow me. And then here again, it's faster because there leaves to throw them onto the part rather than walking there and waiting for them to catch up. And then I want to keep the engine on screen as much as possible here. Because it actually moves a little faster when it's on screen. I don't think anyone really knows why. Maybe they do, I don't know. But it saves about a second to keep it on screen as much as possible. And then there's nothing else to do for this day, so I just like to do these out-of-bounds tricks. I'm not very good at them. I actually missed it 3 times here. But you can walk off this ledge at an angle and get up here out of bounds. There's invisible walls, so you can't really go very far, but it's kind of cool. And then after I fail it the 3rd time, I'd give up and just go on the log here instead. And then once the cutscene activates here, there's going to be a text box. As soon as the text box comes up, you're just going to mash B and just keep mashing B until the stats screen at the end of the day comes up, because you're going to want to skip the text box here, then there's 2 cutscenes at the end of the day to skip, and then there's more text boxes after those cutscenes, so just keep mashing B to just get through all that as fast as possible. And yeah, so once you see this stat screen starting to come up, you can stop mashing B. And then just as soon as I guess it stops moving down, that's when you can press A, and then don't save and do continue. And that's about it for impact site. Not too much there. Honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about impact site. If anything, I would practice it like last because it's the least important area. You can't fail it, and if you lose time, I mean, it's pretty inconsequential. Definitely practice the other three areas, or I guess 4 areas first, because they have a lot more important stuff in them. So yeah.